Okay, look, I wasn't even gonna make this video originally, but recently, especially within the last month of playing pubs, I've encountered this problem so many times and I just finally had to say something. So, time to talk about
Gentlemen.
Spy. Now, I want to make it clear that I don't have any problems with him as a class. Well, almost. I think he's mostly balanced, and apart from the few quirks that come with melee hit reg and inconsistency with higher ping, I'd say that Spy is mostly a well-rounded addition to the game's roster, easily countered, yet powerful in the right hands. But the thing I take issue with Spy the most is his disguise kit. And yeah, I know the disguise kit isn't really a powerful tool for most players today, with its main use seemingly being to walk by sentries unscathed. No, I have a problem with this.
It's a spy! The scout is a spy!
Disguising as Scout. But why? Well, before we get into that, I think it's important to talk about the reasons that people even disguise as Scout in the first place. Now, by far, I'd say that the main reason spies do this is to trick and bypass enemy snipers. See, when you're disguised as Scout, your head hitbox will be in the same spot it always is, but Scout's hunched over model makes the head hitbox look like it'd be here, when in reality, it's actually here. So if you're going around taking out important targets and a sniper happens to spot you from the backlines, taking you out with a quick headshot becomes slightly more difficult since your actual head is invisible and offset from where the sniper would expect it to be. This is also true for most of the classes you can disguise as, but when choosing Scout, it's the most exaggerated difference. Now, this isn't really a foolproof tactic for several reasons, especially if the sniper targeting you is really good and well experienced with the class, or if they catch on fast to your disguise and start aiming their shots a little bit higher. Or especially if they just go for a body shot. Yeah, that's probably the most logical thing they're gonna do. But sometimes they might only have a split second to react and shoot you, and if they go for a quick scope headshot, it can be easy to miss their mark in the moment and leave you alive. So in general, while disguising as Scout may not save you from getting shot in the head every single time, it can make it more likely that such a headshot would miss. The other main reason I see so many spies doing this is probably just because from a gameplay perspective, disguising as Scout is super easy. Since the 1 through 4 keys are the closest to your WASD, and since the 1 key signifies Scout's disguise, that one in particular is the easiest disguise to execute, since all you have to do is press 4 and then 1. If you're using the concise disguise kit, then it's just 4, then 1 again. If you ask me, this is way easier than looking across your keyboard to find the one specific disguise you want, and even with the concise disguise function, I think just quickly tapping the 1 key twice is the easiest muscle memory. So in this regard, it does make sense to disguise as Scout, since the effort needed to do so is the least demanding of all the classes, at least in my opinion. If all it takes to disguise as the enemy is a simple 4-1 or 4-1-1 key input, then it's no wonder why I see so many friendly Scouts running around like they just broke both of their ankles. And it's not just the seemingly offset hitbox and rapid key inputs that make Scout such a good disguise target. There are actually a few other benefits to disguising as Scout, like being able to hide behind cover more easily, appearing as a less suspicious heal target, keeping Spy's base movement speed, and showing appreciation for your son by taking his identity and likeness. I don't know about that last one. Okay, so it sounds like disguising as Scout seems like an actually good strategy when playing Spy. It has numerous benefits from both a gameplay and user standpoint, so why exactly do I hate it so much? Well, it's just really annoying. See, everything I said about the benefits of disguising as Scout is true, but the fact that you keep your base movement speed even when disguised as Scout makes your disguise, let's say, a bit more than obvious? But hey, if your team recognizes that a Scout on your team is a spy, they'll just shoot at him and the problem will be a thing of the past, right? Well, that's where my hatred towards these Scout spies comes into play. No matter how obvious it is to me that a Scout is in fact a spy, my team never seems to do anything about it. I really don't know what it is. It could just be me being horribly unlucky or the state of the round being so intense and requiring my team's whole undivided attention, but the second I see a spy disguised as Scout, no one on my team seems to notice him until they either get backstabbed or spot him on the respawn cam between lives. Oh my god, I can't hit him. And I know that most players probably still spy check Scouts, because I know I'm probably going to get a comment or two where someone tells me, well, I can tell when a Scout is a spy, I spy check. which to those people I have to say, good on you. It just sometimes feels like I'm the outlier of the player base, where my team does nothing to make sure a very obvious spy is put to rest so he can't do anything anymore. But what could also be happening here is that my team does recognize that one of our scouts is a spy, yet everybody thinks that someone else is gonna do something to take them out. Man, you gotta love the bystander effect. Okay, take this clip for example. Our poor Engie is being swarmed by spies, and I'm playing sniper. My only means of helping him with this infestation is to pepper down the spies with my SMG. I mean, I could go for a close range quickscope headshot, but that makes me far too susceptible to a backstab. And looky here, my team is too preoccupied to help us take out the spies. Man, what a wonderful thing that's happening. It's just so fun. What this all ultimately comes down to is probably just a coincidence with scout spies, because the majority of times where I see a spy absolutely dominating my team and I pretty much can't do anything about it, they just so happen to be disguised as scout, which bizarrely happens so often that I can't tell if it's a real issue or if I'm just crazy. Like, come on, I can't be the only one who gets annoyed when a scout running at half a mile an hour chain stabs my entire team because no one realizes that such an obvious fake teammate is right on their tail. Man, this clip still pisses me off to this day. Just shoot every scout you come across and this problem pretty much solves itself. And for the love of God, if your friendly scouts are using the Babyface's blaster, be even more mindful of spies than ever. Seriously, it's like there's a hidden stat on there that says makes you look like an enemy spy. Speaking of which, the fact that you lose your boost on double jumps with the BFB means that scouts who do want to keep their boost will just avoid double jumping in most situations, making them look even more like a spy since, hey, spy can't double jump. Which ironically is one of the only times I see my teammates actively spy checking scouts when they're not a spy. Why do spies do this? Because I know it can't just be to gain the benefits I talked about earlier. Like, do they think disguising as scout is clever? Do they think they're outsmarting my team or something? Okay, well, you know, they probably are, given my luck. Because I sure as hell don't see a scout walking like this and think, oh hey, that's my scout alright. No, it's obscenely obvious that you're a spy. But you know, there is a certain loadout that these spies usually run, and it tends to tip my frustration over the edge. The Conniver's Kunai and the Dead Ringer. Yeah, it's not really hard to see why this loadout tends to make your average player less than happy. The Kunai is notorious for skirting the line of being overpowered, but that's largely due to its ability to farm health off your teammates, something you have very little control over unless you just outright kill the spy. But hey, that's made even more difficult thanks to the Dead Ringer, since the ability to feign your death means that spies can more safely go after backstabs. Now, when you shoot that slow-ass scout wannabe, instead of him dying, you get the wonderful privilege of seeing him loudly decloak and get right back to backstabbing, almost to say right to your face that you accomplished nothing. Huh, it's almost like a weapon that gives you health on kill, plus an item that gives you a get out of jail free card from dying, is unfun to play against. Now, despite how powerful this combo can be in most servers, especially those with bad or unaware players, you could argue that Spy's disguise kit isn't the greatest and most players aren't fooled by it anymore, which honestly I do agree with to an extent. So using this combo could be seen as a way to make playing Spy feel more balanced, since most spies will just die immediately after getting 1 or 2 kills. But there are still players who know the true potential that these two weapons have together, and in the right hands, really good spies can become nearly unkillable with this combo. And yes, any weapon can be powerful when used by expert players or dedicated people with our accounts that start with 10,000, but I feel like the Dead Ringer Kunai combo is the most egregious in terms of weapon synergy and pub stomping potential. But you know what? There is a silver lining. At least the Dead Ringer isn't in the state it used to be. Oh my god, if it were still as powerful as it was back in the day, this whole section would just be an hour-long rant. So now to answer the question, why even make this video? Why bring the issue I personally have with the game to light, possibly making this issue even worse than before? Well, it's because I can't be the only player bothered by this. I've personally never seen anyone make a video on this specific nitpick before, or even discuss how Spy's array of disguises seem to commonly point towards one Boston-based target. Honestly, none of this is really a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, and with everything I'm saying today coming from the perspective of an engineer main, I don't want you guys thinking I've got some personal vendetta against Spy or anything like that. I really just wanted to highlight this seemingly obvious flaw with Spy's disguise for Scout, and how, despite the odds, Spy can usually get away with walking at a snail's pace while having the appearance of the fastest class in the game. But what I'm also hoping to do today is to raise more awareness about spies in general, because you should know that behind every friendly scout that's helping your team by flanking, keeping pressure on the battlefield, or helping your medic get to the front line faster, there's a high possibility that this same scout is just a spy waiting to find his next target. Why? Why is he disguised as scout? That's literally gonna prove my point for this video. We're literally like all engineers. What is he thinking?